You wouldn't want to live here. Places where walls can crumble beneath your feet, where one misstep can send you hundreds of feet underground, or where the wrath of nature is just one storm away from total destruction. From ancient monasteries, defying gravity on sheer cliffs to modern architectural marvels balanced on precarious terrain, these homes push the boundaries of what's possible and sometimes what's safe. Let's take a look at each of these extremely bizarre homes. Join us and let's dive in. Number 20. Solvay Hut on the Matterhorn. At 13,133 feet above sea level on Switzerland's iconic Matterhorn mountain sits the Solvay Emergency Hut, the highest mountain hut in the Alps and possibly the most precariously situated permanent structure in Europe. Built in 1917, this bright, red aluminum shelter clings to a narrow ridge called the Hearnley, offering last resort shelter for climbers caught in emergencies. The hut is anchored directly to the mountain's exposed rock face, with sheer drops of thousands of feet on multiple sides. The building's foundation consists of a narrow rock ledge barely wider than the structure itself, with sections seemingly hanging over nothing but air. Number 19. Takasugi-en Tea House. In Chino, Nagano Prefecture, Japan, architect Teranobu Fujimori created perhaps the world's most precariously balanced tea house. Takasugi-en, which translates to a tea house built too high, sits atop two chestnut trees like a treehouse designed by a minimalist with a dangerous disregard for conventional stability. The entire structure balances on the trunks of these trees, which have been chopped and placed upright without their roots, creating more of a stilted platform than a true tree house. The small, box-like structure appears ready to topple over, with the slightest breeze, its center of gravity seemingly outside its narrow base. Access to this tea house requires climbing a freestanding ladder that leans against the structure without any safety features. Number 18. Korowai Tree Houses. Deep in the dense rainforests of Papua, Indonesia, the Korowai tribe has developed one of the world's most spectacular and dangerous housing solutions. These indigenous people build homes reaching heights of 35 meters, 115 feet above the forest floor, creating multi-level wooden structures that seem to float among the treetops. The Korowai, whose existence remained unknown to the outside world until 1974, developed this extraordinary architectural style out of necessity rather than novelty. Their elevated dwellings protect them from flooding, jungle predators, disease-carrying, mosquitoes, and rival tribes. According to tribal beliefs, these heights also keep them safe from kakua, evil spirits they believe walk the forest floor. Construction of these towering homes begins with selecting a single, sturdy banyan tree. The top gets removed to create a central supporting column, while surrounding trees provide additional stability. I have a question for you. First, I would like to say that it is possible to follow the greatest curiosities of our world every day. But to do so, you need to be subscribed to our channel. So, are you already subscribed? If not, take the opportunity to subscribe now. Also, take the opportunity to like the video, so YouTube will recommend more videos from our channel, so leave your like right now. And now that you have done that, let's go. Number 17. Likenstein Castle, crowning a 250-foot limestone cliff. In Baden-Württemberg, Germany, Likenstein Castle emerges from the rock as if it's part of the cliff itself. While it evokes medieval romanticism, this castle is actually a relatively modern construction from 1842, though built on the ruins of a much older fortress dating back to the 1100s. The castle dangles precariously at the absolute edge of the cliff, with parts of its foundation actually extending beyond the rock face, supported by stone arches that seem inadequate for the task. One section of the castle stands on a separate rock outcropping, connected to the main structure only by a narrow bridge spanning a dizzying drop. During World War II, the castle narrowly avoided destruction when a tank shell struck its main tower, but miraculously failed to detonate. Had it exploded, the castle's precarious position might have sent the entire structure tumbling into the valley below. Number 16. Fanjing Shan Mountain Temples. Perched at the absolute pinnacle of China's Golden Peak in the Wuling Mountains stands a pair of ancient temples that defy both gravity and common sense. Built during the Tang dynasty in the 7th century, these Buddhist temples sit atop an isolated rock spire with sheer drops on all sides. The Temple of Buddha and the Meteora Temple crown this natural stone pillar, connected only by a narrow stone bridge spanning the vertigo-inducing Gold Sword Gorge. This isn't just a casual stroll across. The bridge hangs over a stomach-churning chasm that plunges hundreds of feet below. Number 15. Meteora Monasteries. Reaching toward the heavens atop massive sandstone pillars, the monasteries of Meteora in Thessaly, Greece, represent some of humanity's most ambitious and precarious construction projects. The name Meteora literally means suspended in air, an apt description for these structures that seem to float above the landscape. Built between the 13th and 14th centuries, these monasteries offered monks both spiritual isolation and physical protection from Turkish invaders. Originally, 24 monasteries crowned these natural stone towers. Today, only 6 remain intact, standing as testimonies to medieval determination and engineering ingenuity. Number 14. Falling Waterhouse. Nestled among the lush forests of southwestern Pennsylvania sits a home so daringly constructed it makes engineers still shake their heads in disbelief. Falling Waterhouse, designed by legendary architect Frank Lloyd Wright, doesn't merely offer views of the Bear Run waterfall, it physically straddles it, positioning occupants directly above rushing water. Commissioned in 1935 by department store magnate Edgar Kaufman and his wife Lillian as a weekend retreat, Falling Water transformed the concept of harmonizing architecture with nature. Rather than building near the waterfall the Kaufmans loved, Wright made the audacious decision to build directly over it, creating cantilevered concrete balconies that extend 15 feet beyond their support points, with nothing beneath them but cascading water. The construction challenges proved immense. Wright's daring cantilever design required concrete reinforced with structural steel, a relatively new technique at the time. Number 13. Wozoko Apartments. Unlike ancient religious structures built on precarious cliffs, the Wozoko Apartments in Amsterdam represent a modern architectural gamble. Designed by MVRDV architects in the 1990s, this residential building looks like it's suffering a glitch in the matrix, with entire sections of the structure jutting out horizontally without obvious support. The building's most striking feature is its 13 cantilevered apartments that project from the north face, appearing to float in mid-air. These units extend as far as 32 feet from the main structure, creating the unsettling impression that they could snap off at any moment. Number 12. Katsky Pillar. Standing like a giant stone finger pointing skyward, the Katsky Pillar in western Georgia hosts what must be one of the world's most isolated human dwellings. This 130-foot limestone monolith features a small church and monk's cell perched at its flat summit, accessible only by climbing a vertigo-inducing iron ladder bolted into the rock face. Dating back to the 9th or 10th century, this extraordinary site remained largely untouched until 1944, when researchers began exploring it properly. What they discovered was evidence of an extreme form of religious devotion, the remains of a small church, a crypt, a wine cellar, and 3 hermit cells carved into the rock. The last permanent resident was a monk named Maxim Kavtaradze, who lived atop the pillar for 20 years, sleeping in a small stone hut barely larger than a closet. His only link to the world below was a precarious ladder that took 20 minutes to climb, without any safety equipment. Number 11. Tiger's Nest Monastery. Clinging to the face of a 3,000-foot cliff in Bhutan's Upper Paro Valley, Paro Taksang, Tiger's Nest Monastery seems to defy both gravity and common sense. Built in 1692 around a cave where Guru Rinpoche, the founder of Tibetan Buddhism, reportedly meditated for 3 years, 3 months, 3 weeks, 3 days, and 3 hours, this sacred site embodies spiritual devotion through architectural daring. The monastery complex consists of 4 main temples and several dwellings, all precariously perched on a granite ledge with a sheer drop of nearly 2,600 feet below. Number 10. Cliff Palace in Mesa, Verde. Hidden within the sandstone cliffs of Mesa Verde in Colorado stands the largest cliff dwelling in North America, a testament to the ancestral Puebloan people's architectural ingenuity and their willingness to build homes in seemingly impossible locations. Constructed between 1190 and 1260 AD, Cliff Palace contains 150 rooms and 23 kivas, ceremonial chambers, tucked under a massive rock overhang. The structure isn't just built against the cliff, it's integrated into it, with walls rising directly from narrow ledges and rooms carved into the soft sandstone. Modern engineers remain baffled by how these ancient builders managed to construct this complex without scaffolding or modern tools, especially considering that materials had to be hauled up steep canyon walls. Number 9. Hommanc Penthouse. Perched atop a ski jump in Oslo, Norway, the Hommanc Penthouse transforms an extreme sports venue into perhaps the world's most adrenaline-inducing residence. This glass-walled apartment sits at the very top of the Hommanc ski jump, offering residents the same vertiginous view that Olympic athletes experience before hurtling themselves down the slope. The structure extends out over the jump, creating the illusion of floating in midair with nothing but glass between the residents and a 200-foot drop. The floor-to-ceiling windows on all sides provide uninterrupted views, but also eliminate any visual reassurance of solid ground below. Number 8. Cliff House by Modscape. Taking the concept of cliff dwelling to its logical extreme, the cliff house designed by Australian firm Modscape reimagines what it means to live on the edge, literally. Though currently only a concept, this 5-story home is designed to hang off the face of a coastal cliff like a barnacle clinging to a ship's hull. The proposed structure relies on engineered steel pins drilled deep into the cliff face, with each floor suspended below the next in a vertical stack. Unlike traditional buildings that rise from a foundation, this inverted skyscraper descends from its anchor points, with the lowest floor hanging hundreds of feet above the crashing waves below. Number 7. Chateau de Laor. Carved into the steep cliffs of the medieval village of Eze on the French Riviera, the Chateau de Laor, Castle of the Golden Goat, transforms a precarious 1,400-foot cliff face into a luxury hotel experience like no other. Built into and around the ancient stone structures of a village dating back to the 12th century, this hotel complex follows the contours of the mountainside with rooms and terraces stacked vertically down the precipitous slope. What makes this location particularly hazardous is its geological instability. The entire village sits on limestone terrain prone to erosion, with parts of the cliff face occasionally breaking away. The hotel's structures integrate directly with the ancient village buildings, some of which were constructed before modern engineering standards existed. Number 6. Casa Malaparte. Perched atop a dangerous cliff on the Italian island of Capri, Casa Malaparte has been called the most beautiful and simultaneously the most terrifying house ever built. Completed in 1942, this modernist masterpiece sits on Punta Masullo, a narrow rocky promontory jutting out 118 feet above the Tyrrhenian Sea, exposed to the elements from all sides. The house's most striking feature is its roof, a massive concrete trapezoid with curved steps leading up to nothing but open air and a sheer drop on all sides. No railings, no barriers, no safety features whatsoever protect anyone walking on this architectural showpiece. Number 5. Pugto Monastery. Hidden deep within the remote Zanskar Valley in northern India, Pugto Monastery, also called Pugto, represents one of the most isolated and precariously situated human settlements on Earth. Built directly into a massive cave halfway up a sheer cliff face, this Buddhist monastery has housed monks continuously since its construction in the 12th century. The monastery structure integrates with the natural cave, with wooden frameworks extending outward from the cliff face like swallows' nests, Supporting beams are driven directly into cracks in the rock face, with little redundancy should these ancient timbers fail. Number 4. The Musanden Temple. Standing at the absolute edge of a 120-foot cliff on Northern Ireland's coast, the Musanden Temple seems perpetually moments away from tumbling into the Atlantic Ocean below. Built in 1785 as a library for the nearby Downhill House, this circular stone building has been fighting a losing battle against coastal erosion for centuries. When originally constructed, the temple stood a safe distance from the cliff edge. However, relentless wave action has steadily eaten away at the basalt cliff face, bringing the precipice ever closer to the temple's foundations. Number 3. Aesher Cliff Restaurant and Inn. Tucked into a concave cliff face in Switzerland's Alpstein Massif, the Burgust House Aesher Mountain Inn looks as though it's being slowly swallowed by the mountain itself. Built in 1846, this guest house and restaurant is literally pressed against the rock face, with the cliff forming its back wall and parts of its foundation. The structure clings to a narrow ledge roughly 5,000 feet above sea level, with its wooden balconies extending out over a sheer drop of several hundred feet. The entire building is anchored to the cliff using a system that has been repeatedly reinforced over decades, but remains vulnerable to rock movements and slides. Number 2. The Lighthouse of Tenet. Standing alone on a tiny rock outcrop in one of the world's most dangerous sea passages, the Lighthouse of Tenet, off the coast of Brittany, France, represents the ultimate in isolated and precarious human habitation. Built in 1875 on a rock. Barely larger than the lighthouse itself, the structure rises directly from the sea with no natural protection from Atlantic storms. The lighthouse stands in the Raz de Seine, a notoriously treacherous stretch of water known for violent currents, unpredictable waves, and frequent storms. Waves regularly crash over the entire rock and structure during winter gales, with water reaching heights of over 70 feet, occasionally breaking windows in the lantern room at the top of the tower. Number 1. Hashan Tea House. At the summit of Mount Huashan, in China's Shanxi province, sits what might be the most inaccessible tea house on Earth, reached only by traversing what's commonly called the world's most dangerous hiking trail. This small wooden structure perches on the south peak at 7,087 feet above sea level, with vertical drops of thousands of feet on multiple sides. What makes this location uniquely perilous is the infamous path required to reach it. Visitors must navigate the plank walk, wooden boards fastened directly to the sheer cliff face with minimal supporting infrastructure. Now I have a special recommendation for you. Are you seeing this video that is appearing on the screen? Click on it because I'm sure you'll like it. Well, that's it, and until next time, Curious One.